Good morning, everybody. My name is Dave Finale, and this is Real Estate Talk TGIF, episode 333, which means it's 300 and guess what? 329 weeks in a row that we have done this broadcast to give back to the real estate community, just to give information about what people are doing, what they're doing differently. It's not always about real estate. It's always about a lot of different things. And today, we have my friend Keller Ferris from Texas. Kyler and I first met about a year ago at an event in Lake Tahoe, and or maybe we also met in Los Angeles this year. But Kyler's done some really great things in the transition of his life into from regular real estate to YouTube, etc. Kyler, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to finally connect. It was good meeting you a year ago, and it's pretty respectable that you haven't missed an episode in that long. I guess that's what, 5 years, something like that. If you do it every Friday.
It's actually over 6. It's over 6.
Yeah. Well, I like to pride myself on being a consistent content creator. I think it's probably the number one pillar of success when it comes to content is just actually committing and being consistent. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, thank you. It's really important that I do it. I saw someone doing a really poor job, and I said, I can do this, and I can show up every Friday morning. So why not?
That's exactly what I saw on Facebook. On YouTube.
Right. So truth be told, I missed one Friday because it's food poisoning. I did it the next Saturday, so it's weeks, not Fridays. But this is the longest running live broadcast in real estate in North America. Anyway, we got to get started. Let's go to the videotape, Nelson, to get it started. Real estate agents, are you looking to acquire clients consistently to grow your business and income for a great lifestyle? Well, this is Dave Finale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and the Modern Agent team. Hey, good morning again. This is Dave Finale, Real Estate Talk TGIF. We're here with Kyler Ferris. Kyler, man, listening to what your story is and where you've come from, it's really exciting. But before we get to that, I do have one question I have to ask you. What does TGIF stand for?
I guess it's Thank God It's Friday.
You're really close, man. Don't worry about it. Most people don't get it right. It's Thank God It's Finale. So
Finale, there we go.
So it works.
Actually, it could be Thank God It's Ferris.
You know what? I tell you what. Today, it's Thank God It's Ferris.
There we go.
Here we go. Anyway, hey man, you've come from a great place of building your life and building your business, and you're doing great things, and you're helping a lot of people these days. Tell me your story. How did you get to today from when you started in this business, and how much it was fun and how much it was hard?
Yeah, it's still fun and it's still hard. So to anybody just getting started, get ready. It doesn't necessarily get easy because you just take on bigger challenges. But yeah, I've been in the business going on 10 years. I'm pretty young, actually. I'm 32. So I got my license about 2 years after I graduated college. So didn't expect to be a full-time realtor. That was actually never in the cards. So going back to college, studied finance, knew I was never going to go work for another company. Always wanted to work for myself, but really saw myself being an entrepreneur one day, just not necessarily in real estate. So I spent my first year and a half out of college working for a family office, seeking out investments for our, the family whose money we were managing. And anyways, that led into a position where I got to start my own company for the first time. And that was, about 9.5 years ago. And it was a real estate company. I had a business partner that I had identified that I wanted to be partners with him. He was my age. He had spent 1 year working at the Heil Group, which at the time was the #1 Keller Williams team in Austin, Texas, where I was living. And we were chatting, and he was like, hey, I think we can run this same model they're running, but I think we could actually be a brokerage. And so I talked to the family office I was helping manage, and we took $300,000. I'd never sold a home in my life. We got an office on 6th Street in East Austin right before that all exploded. And I would say being naive as an entrepreneur can actually be one of the greatest attributes you have in your early days, because it allows you to actually start a process that looking back now, I don't know if I ever would have done that again. I didn't realize the perceived risk involved. So anyways, that's what got me started. We started a brokerage, and very, very early on, I think I came in with a lot of ego. I had come from being this golden child of, I worked for a guy with a bunch of money, and I'm kind of the gatekeeper to him, and I go find deals and people want to work with us. And now all of a sudden the roles are reversed. We're 6 months into the company, and my investor, my business partner are like, hey, now that the company's up and running, you should probably start selling real estate. So that's how it happened, actually, Dave. I thought it would come easy, to be honest. I really did. Everything else was kind of coming easy at that time. And so I didn't necessarily want to hustle. But when you put yourself in a position of leadership in a company, people are looking to you. And especially when you have a business partner who's leading by example, who Cody, my partner, was, I was like, I guess I probably got to step up my game. So we were cold calling early days. That's how we were generating most of our business. So we would come in the office. We had a mojo dialer. We're calling 5 days a week. We'd hit the phones from roughly 9 to 10:30 or 11 every morning. We'd had Boomtown set up. We were just old school scripting, calling people, seeing if they had thoughts of selling in the next 6 to 12 months. Slowly, we're building a database simultaneously. We did take on some paid leads. So I think in my first year, I always had a really good sphere, but I spent a lot of my time doing leases because of my insecurity of the process of actually maybe failing. My ego didn't want that. And so I probably did 30 apartment leases my first year in real estate. I ended up selling maybe 12 homes. So I just remember my first year in real estate, I did fine. I made $87,000. I was proud of myself, but there were a lot of things I was avoiding. That was kind of just held together with duct tape. I wouldn't say it was necessarily like a great start to a real estate career. I had a lot of advantages with paid leads and stuff like that. So that's how I got started, and it's obviously grown from there.
So you worked and decided you were going to sell real estate. It's nothing you had ever planned to, but you started a real estate company, not wanting to sell, or not having the inclination that you would sell real estate. But that's pretty interesting.
Well, I to be completely honest, I thought I was above it. I thought, if I start the company, I'll never need to sell the real estate. There's plenty of people that start companies and never actually have to do that level of work. So I did have a skill set in the first 6 months of a company. So I worked for a technology accelerator out of college, and I just helped companies get off the ground. So I had a really good, clear pathway to get us up and running. And what was cool, so that company, I ended up stepping back from. My business partner and I split up. Our investor wanted to basically renegotiate the terms about a year and a half into the deal. And I didn't like it. I was getting married in 3 weeks, and my business partner, he couldn't really say no. He had no reason, not to just roll along with what the investor wanted to do. So I stepped back, and that's kind of when I went off on my own journey. And it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. It was, at the time, it was the most painful thing ever in my personal life, because, I grew up with a single mother, and I've got a great relationship with my dad, but not having him, there at home every single day. I think as a man or a boy at the time, you're kind of looking to the world to, tell you, do I have what it takes? And up until that point, I thought I did. And then, you get in a disagreement with the person that set you up financially to, have this business, and you get, told the cold hard truth, which is, hey, this isn't working. Something's got to change. And so I left, and it really shattered my confidence. I had to rebuild my confidence in myself through my own efforts, and not something anybody else could give me. And so that's really what lit a fire on me and set me on the path I am today. I don't think if that had happened, that I would have had the grit that I have today.
So you had knowledge of the business, and you had, the work ethic and everything, but you said you had to rebuild your confidence. And as you and I know, we meet real estate pros all over the place. And I use the word pros, not agents, because let's face it, if you're going to perform in this business, you're a true professional in what you do. And it's a transition going from that being that real estate agent, that licensee, to the agent, to the professional. How did you do that? You had the knowledge, but you didn't have the confidence. And this is something that, as I said, that a lot of people have and it sticks them. It gets them stuck. And what did you do to build that confidence?
Yeah, it's interesting. One of the things that makes our organization, I would say, unique in our marketplace right now, we're having zero issues recruiting agents. I truly, respectfully, I don't resonate with other teams I hear saying we're struggling to recruit. To me, if what you're doing is a good thing in your marketplace, it naturally happens. And one of the things we're doing is we're talking about this stuff. I mean, my whole Wednesday meeting boiled down to really mindset and confidence, but not just, oh yeah, work on your mindset. Like truly, what is it? Like, how do you get unstuck? Because I remember early in my career, I'll tell you something pretty funny. And I share this with my agents. I think you have to lead with vulnerability.
Yep.
I heard recently, and I tell my agents, don't compare your chapter 1 to my chapter 25. You'll just never make it to chapter 25 if that's what you're looking to do. And so, I lost my train of thought. What was the question? I had it all dialed up, Dave.
You were talking about the mindset and confidence and building that to getting agents to understand how to get unstuck from that point.
Yeah.
Don't compare your chapter 1 to your chapter 25.
Yeah, I got it right here. Actually, what's funny, I have my notes from whenever we were teaching this week. So, yeah, I just think it's easy for for people to see the results. And whenever you get started, going back to being kind of naive, I think that is like a beautiful thing that gets you going and gets you started. Do you know Brandon? I forget his last name. He's a big
Brandon
YouTuber.
Brittingham.
No, not Brandon Brittingham, actually. No. Different Brandon. I want to give him credit, but I watched one of his videos on YouTube and it was really powerful. It's something I passed along to my agents. But you start out in this unconscious incompetence. That's where you start. You're not confident. No, it's I'll pull it before.
I'm over 2. I'm done.
Yeah. Anyway, so you start out in what's called unconscious incompetence. And that's where you walk into the business and you see the end result, which is I'm going to make 100K. I'm going to be a millionaire, whatever your goal is. Right. And you don't see any of the work between now and then. All you see is the goal. And that's actually what gets you started, right? That's what gets me started in other business ventures. And then you start to ask all the questions. You're still looking at the result, but you're like, okay, what's it actually going to take to get there? Oh, this is harder than I thought. Oh, I actually have to get a real estate license. Oh, I actually have to cold call people. Oh, I actually need to set up systems. Oh, I actually have to spend money on mailers. Oh, I actually need to go and network at these events. Oh, there's already a better agent than me and my friend group, right? And then all of a sudden you enter this space called conscious incompetence, where you're still incompetent, but now you're aware of it, right? I think that's where a lot of people get out of the business. And then it's really that's what makes or breaks you. It's like, how quickly can you sprint to conscious competence where you're actually good at it? And then eventually over time, you talk about being a pro, you'll arrive at mastery. Right. And so, once again, remind me the question again. So
I'll just go off on that because you mentioned being naive earlier. Right. And I can relate to that. I mean, today, I think being naive is like such a great motivator. And here's what I mean. When I first got into actually working a profession and working in real estate, I worked with my dad, and I thought I knew it all as this 20-something-year-old kid, saying, well, we should do it this way and we should do it that way, and get frustrated and have fights with him and everything else. And then I realized as time went along, is that he really knew what the hell he was talking about. It wasn't the new way, but it didn't have to be. It was experience and what we have to learn to say, oh, right. It's like as you said, being naive is the motivator. Seeing from yours to where you want to go is the motive. It gives you the motivation. And then moving forward from there actually propels you into evolution of yourself. Number one, the mindset, the confidence, but it's also going to put you in the direction. That's a good idea. Let's work on that. Let's push there. And I believe that's where what you were getting at before when you were talking there about how everything progressed for you.
Yeah. I think one of the questions I asked our team this week that ties directly into maybe this season, because I want to keep walking y'all through the seasons of my career, but there's a moment that every agent's going to have to come to terms with. Going back to confidence before I forget, this is where I was headed. This is funny. I went 3 years in real estate without ever taking a listing. And let me tell you why. I lacked confidence. And what I've found is people lack confidence because they don't know where they're going, right? And so you don't want to start because you don't want to look like an idiot, period. At least that's for me. Well, leading with vulnerability, the whole reason I didn't want to take a listing, and I could have easily Googled it. I never did. I could have asked, but my ego wouldn't allow. I didn't know how to open title. I don't know how it works in your state, but the process of opening title, I was like, I don't know what that is. How could I list a home? I don't know what that means. All you do is you email the contract to the title rep. That is opening title. But I didn't know what it meant. And I didn't know, I didn't have confidence. And so, and I say that example because it's so stupid and it's hilarious. But I remember writing my first email to the title company. I'm like, hey, title rep, here's the contract. Please let me know all of the other things you require to open title. I'm ready to get title open, like just treading lightly because I was worried there was like a lot involved and all I had to do was send the email over. So I say that like, knowledge is obviously power, but confidence is power. Nobody wants to, be made to look like an idiot. And so one of the ways that you can, really accelerate your growth in real estate, and it's helped me, is sprint to doing every type of deal at least once early on in your career, because as soon as you're on the backside of doing anything in life, you're at least aware of generally speaking what could be involved and a safe landing. And so get safe landings and all of those. I took way too long to do that. It took me, like I said, about 3 years. And I really wish I had done that sooner. And then I posed a question to our team this week that I really think nails this pivotal time for me. So I asked them, and it's 2 questions. So I'll say them both slowly. So the first is, and think about which type of person you are as an agent if you're watching this, but are you willing to do whatever it takes? Or are you like most people, and I actually have it up right here. Let me read it. So, or are you still figuring out if what you're willing to do happens to be enough? I'll say that one again. Are you still in a place of figuring out in your own career if what you are willing to do happens to be enough? I think a lot of people get licensed and they honestly spend the first 6 months to 12 months, sometimes even 2 years, kind of doing what they're comfortable with, and then just finding out what kind of crop that yields. And that's a completely different mindset than are you willing to do whatever it takes, right? And so what took me, so whenever I stepped back from that, the business that I had started, that was about 1.5 years into real estate. I spent another 1.5 years in Austin with my tail between my legs, confidence gone, and I had to build that back up. And so I did have a really great mentor. It wasn't a team, so I wasn't like in his team. I wasn't getting leads or anything like that, but his name was Chad Goldwasser. And way back in the day, Chad was the #1 Keller Williams agent in the world. Highly inspirational person. I wouldn't say motivational, I'd say inspirational. And I got to see somebody with that confidence. And what I saw from him is that he was in control of his confidence. He built it up every single morning through affirmations, whatever he did. And at first I thought it was gimmicky, but over time I realized at the end of the day, like you decide who you're going to be based on the level of activity you put into your life, your business, your health. So 3 years in, I moved back to my hometown. This is 6 years ago now. That's really when a switch flipped. I was married. I was like, I want to start a family. I'm back in my hometown. I know a ton of people. And this is probably the more fun part of the story, right? The success portion of the story. I switched from, am I still trying to figure out if what I'm comfortable doing is enough, right? And it was, the first year I made 87,000. The next year when I had to step away from the business, I think it dipped to like close to 70. And I wasn't really motivated at that time. I had a boat. My wife was at work and I was out boating on Tuesdays with my friends. I was goofing off. I was having a good time. I had a man bun in Austin. I had a motorcycle. Oh yeah. I was having a good old time. But when I moved back to my hometown here in North Houston about 6 years ago, that's when a switch flipped, and I switched and I said, you know what, I'm going to do whatever it takes. And my first year back here, I think I had a goal of making $100,000, and I ended up making exactly $99,000. And I remember sitting on the back patio by a fire pit, and internally I was like really proud of myself coming from this other season to like, now this time nobody had handed me anything. And by the way, I am one of those very unique, rare agents where all of my production, I never did any mailers. I didn't do any open houses. I didn't pay for any leads. All of my stuff was organic through my network. And it's even tough to teach that because it just is who I am. I've always been just a person that connects at a really deep level with everybody I meet. So anyways, I'm sitting there by the fire on the back patio, and I had one buddy back in my hometown who I felt like was kind of my age, who was moving and shaking, who I looked up to. Everybody else I felt was pretty complacent. And anyways, I kind of shared with him. I was like, yeah, dude, I came up $1,000 short. My goal was 100 grand. I made 99. And he basically, in a very nice way, he was like, oh, well, he's like, dude, you can do way better than that. And I was like, kind of like ego checked. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, well, he's like, yeah, dude, you can do way better than that. And he wasn't in real estate. He was in financial advising. And so I was like, well, what'd you make? He's like, I made 400 this year. And you know, I'm like, oh, that's cool. But deep down, I was just like, what? You can even do that? Like, I didn't even know that was a possibility, because I didn't have anyone showing me the ropes, by the way, Dave. I was never a team agent. I was always this lone wolf. I'm going to figure it out on my own. I'm going to keep my head down. Right. And I always, and I had a huge misconception I want to point out to whoever's watching this. I had what maybe some people come into this. I was under the assumption that if I get really good at real estate, that I'll sell a bunch of real estate. And those two things aren't directly correlated. I thought, oh, if I get really good at real estate, that I'll sell a bunch of real estate. What started to happen is I was actually getting really frustrated, because I knew that I actually was a better agent on a technical level, on a knowledge level, on a service-based level, than a lot of these big players around me that were selling all these homes. And that's when it finally hit me. You don't have to be the best agent. You have to be the best marketer, period. They were getting the deals. And so last thing real quick, because I know you got questions. I do want to say, when he told me he made 400,000 that year, right?
Right.
Guess how much money I made that very next year?
How much?
$400,000.
Why?
Because I knew it was possible, and I had already made the decision that I would do whatever it takes. So I switched from the mindset of, is what I'm comfortable doing going to be enough? And when I heard 400 was possible, I immediately knew what I was comfortable with wasn't going to be enough. I've got to do some other stuff.
Okay, so here's the important question, right? So you had to do some other stuff. That's part of the answer, right? So you went from 99 to 400 because you decided to.
That's as simple as it is. Sure. Yeah.
And then, but okay, that's only the beginning, man. And that's what most people stop.
Sure.
Right? What you have to do is, you just said, and part of the answer, as I said, you had to do something, you had to do more, you had to do other stuff to get to there. Yeah. What were the changes? What were a couple of the changes you made to go from 100 to 4?
The opportunity was there the whole time. I could have made 400 the year before. So let's be clear. I finally qualified myself as somebody that deserved it. So we walk around in life all of the time with opportunities right in front of our faces. Yep. But if we don't believe that we're worthy of that opportunity, we will never step up to the plate to seize that opportunity, and it'll never come to fruition. And so I taught this last week on this cycle of there's opportunity, and then there's experience, and then there's worthiness, and it's this little loop that I just made up. But I made it up because it's the cycle I had to break. And so an opportunity comes up, but then you don't have the experience. Let's just give you an example. So an opportunity comes up. Somebody wants you to list a $3 million house, or you overhear somebody saying, "Hey, I'm going to sell my $3 million house." But then you immediately go, well, I've never done one of those. So you question your experience because you don't have that experience. Well, then you question your worthiness. Then you never speak up. And then you just walk out of the Starbucks. The opportunity was there the whole time, versus you break that cycle. The opportunity is equally there. You overhear them and you walk up and you say, "Oh my gosh, that's so interesting. You said you're looking to sell your home over on Lake Conroe. I love Lake Conroe. Where's it at? I might have a buyer for that property." Oh, great. Very cool. So it's like, how do you break that cycle? And it's not fake it till you make it. It's unlocking in your brain that you are worthy of that. Maybe you've never sold a $3 million house, but if you sold a $500,000 house, it's the same exact process. Are you going to disqualify yourself before you ever do it? Because if you constantly do that, you'll never do it. It's the chicken and the egg. And so what really I think unlocked in me from 100 to 400 was I had the $400,000 under my nose within my network, within my capabilities. Like I said, I was already a good agent. It was in stepping up and getting over my insecurities. And I did take a $3 million listing that year. It was an $82,000 check when I closed it. And it was pretty cool. And it unlocked more doors in my brain. Well, if I can do that, I could probably sell a $5 million ranch, right? And so that's the main change. And I think maybe you're asking for like a technical, did I get in and call and track my calls and log my calls? No, I really am like one of those weird agents where I'll teach that to all of our agents all day long if they're not selling 50 homes a year without any of that. But for me, it didn't come easy, but it was a natural byproduct of the way I networked.
Right. Right. Would you say, take another step, would you say that it has a little bit to do with the old idea of reticular activator where
100%. Yes.
Where you didn't think you could do it. And then you said, I can do it. And all of a sudden, when you realized you could, everything appeared.
Yeah. And I got to tell you that, so going through this journey of once again, going back to, I'm so thankful that, and by the way, it was one of the hardest things in my life. I mean, my wife, it affected her for like 2 years. She was like, you're really not who you were after that, after I walked away from that company. And but man, it formed a resolve in me that I'm going to, and it started out as bitterness. Unfortunately, it started out as, I'm going to show them, right. I'm going to prove them wrong. Right. Over time, whenever I realized that the bitterness didn't serve me anymore, I was finally able to surrender and let that go. And then it really just turned into a confidence that I qualify myself for the opportunities in my life. So if an opportunity shows up in front of me, I don't necessarily have to have had that exact experience before, but what I know is I'm committed to being the kind of person that could take that opportunity on and successfully complete it.
You basically created your own opportunity by making a simple decision. Not so simple.
Sure. Well, you say create opportunity. Yeah. So it's funny when you've got that reticular activating system and you're constantly scanning the horizon for new opportunities. If you genuinely feel like you're qualified for every opportunity, you see every opportunity. And all of a sudden, people that are just, I see people in the business that have been in the business 10 years and they make the same amount of money every year. And unless that's the goal they set out to do every single year and they're conscious of it, and they want work-life balance. Right. And they're like, hey, I'm only committed to this because I got 3 kids at home and I really want that family time or whatever. That I totally respect. I struggle to respect somebody that, struggle to respect them, but struggle to respect their business. Usually there's an incongruency or an inconsistency if they're telling me like, they're really trying and their business isn't growing. There's always a way to grow the business. You're probably stuck somewhere, and it's probably in your brain. It could be in your activity level, but it probably starts here, right, in between the ears, and kind of goes from there. So
you start growing your business, you start doing a lot of things, and then you YouTube your video and what you're doing, where you are. You have a great channel in Houston. It's helping you grow your business in so many different ways. Talk to me about that, how that started, how that evolved into where you are today.
Well, so when I went from the 100,000 to 400,000, right, that was my first year back in my hometown. So this is 6 years ago into 5 years ago. So then for the next 2.5, 3 years, my production went from 3 to 4 million in sales volume to about 17 to 20 for the next 3 years in a row. So every year I made more money, and I got to a point at about 50 deals a year, give or take, where, we had our first child. My bandwidth was really tight. Like without scaling, there wasn't a way for me to make more money other than adjust maybe my sales price, which was going to be kind of difficult. And I hired a TC, so I bought back some time and leverage. But beyond that, you really, once you're maxed out as an individual, you have to go, okay, how do I scale? At the time I'm 29, 30 years old, making $500,000+ a year. I'm proud of myself. I've got a skill set. I know, look, I've got a skill set that I can use forever. I don't want to be the one answering these calls at 11 p.m. for the rest of my life. I don't want to have to grind to the level because sure, it's great for 4 years. I'd unlock to do whatever it takes, but sometimes whatever it takes is you leave in the middle of a family dinner. Sometimes doing whatever it takes is you're not there for stuff you should be there for. And so it got to a point for me where I needed to slide back. And so I was looking with that reticular activating system on the horizon. I was like, there's got to be a way to buy my time back and that's video. And I had started to try to do video on my own, but it was very misguided. I think it's what 99% of people in the real estate industry do. They hear, oh, get on video. They go to a conference, which I didn't go to any conferences, by the way, until 2 years ago, after I had started YouTube. I had never been to a real estate event. I'd never had a real estate coach. I absolutely naively thought that it was just like for people that couldn't figure it out. I just was like, good, why would I do that? I figured it out, in my mind. I didn't realize that the best people in the world were just in one room every quarter sharing exactly what they do to be the best. I was like, this is like the biggest life hack cheat code ever.
Yeah.
And these people are nice and they're kind and they're generous and they're abundant.
Yeah.
I was like, what? So that's the biggest. If you haven't done that, get in one of these rooms. Go to one of John Cheplak's events. Get in a room and go to some others. But I specifically have gravitated towards John's. I've been in a couple other rooms, but there's just a level of potency there that you just can't manufacture anywhere else. So all that to say, get me back on track. Where were we? I was locked in.
Talking about the infancy of getting into YouTube.
Okay, so scaling. So I saw video. I was misguided like many people. I had started to try a YouTube channel, but I think people's first inclination is to try to leverage a platform to share what they think the audience wants to know.
Right.
I'll say that again. They're like, oh, I bet people want to hear about how a VA loan works. I'm going to make a 3-minute crummy video that's not edited very well, and I'm just going to post it and it'll magically find people. Well, that's not how YouTube specifically works, because YouTube has an algorithm that prioritizes how the video is optimized, how it's going to get in front of those people using keywords. And there has to be a market on YouTube, a desire to watch whatever the content is. And so a shift took place. I saw some guys that had just, actually one of my real estate clients, a good friend, a big online marketer, I was selling his house and he goes, hey, you need to check these guys out. There's some guys in Dallas. I just created a course for them. They started a YouTube channel about 4 or 5 months ago. And while they were at my house for the weekend filming and creating this course they plan to sell, their phone was just going off the hook. And I was like, well, how long have they been in real estate? And he's like, they haven't. Like, they just started this to get into real estate. And I was like, there's no way that works. Right? My ego again. I was like, there's no way that works.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah. There's no way that works. I'm really good at real estate. That's impossible. That was the end of that. I was like, that's not a thing. Circle back. He's like, all right, dude, you're an idiot. And he just kept telling me I'm an idiot. He's like, you're an idiot. You really need to look into YouTube. He's like, trust me, I didn't think it would work either, but I'm with them and their phone, it's ding, 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 ding. Right. People are reaching out through YouTube. So I was like, all right, whatever. Introduce me to him. So I call the guys up. I'm like, hey, I'm getting in the car. I'm driving to Dallas. I'm going to spend a day with you guys. Just conceptually, like, what are y'all doing? And as soon as they explained just the concept, I was like, kind of like you said, Dave, with your, you're like, I can do that. For me, I was like, I can do that and I can do that better. And I just immediately, I was like, I have everything at my disposal and fingertips to be really, really good on YouTube. And the reality is there's maybe like 5 components that you need to be good at YouTube. One, you need to be consistent and committed to it, like you are with this broadcast. That's like the most important. So from the beginning, when I committed to this, we committed to doing 2 videos a week, every week, without missing an upload for a year. And I can say we successfully did that. I'm super proud of that. Now we're a little more, now we switched to 1 and we do it every Sunday. And now we don't miss. We had a little season there where we got a little off the rails. So, but the first year, super, super consistent, started to get really good results. But back to the scaling thing, I just knew that I needed to create an engine and not be the engine. Right. So one of the blessings of the type of agent I had become was that I actually didn't have to do a lot of the activities that, most agents have to do to make the kind of money they want to make in the industry. The flip side of that was I couldn't really put a pin on where my money was coming from, right? I couldn't be like, well, these 13 deals came from here and these 22 deals came from here. They just kind of happened. They were very consistent, which is the weird part. But every January would roll around, Dave, and I'd have a legitimate anxiety attack. I'd have a full on breakdown for 2-3 years in a row because really? I had full on breakdown. I'm making $400,000 or $500,000, $600,000, and I'm having a full breakdown because I'd always put a lot of pressure on myself just to succeed. To me, like the reason so I love golf, but it's the most mentally taxing thing on me, because if I'm capable of shooting one score, if I ever shoot above that score ever again, which is not how golf works, like you're going to, I hold myself to my very best standard, a very unhealthy quality trait. And so I just get mad. I just get frustrated. And so I get anxiety or whatever. And so that's kind of how I viewed my business. I was like, there's no reason to not be better. I have more knowledge, more skills, more tactics this year than last. And so
I don't think you can equate the real estate business to golf, because most of us suck to begin with.
yeah, well, I play a lot of golf, so it should be all right. But
me too. And it's like, okay, so
no.
I mean, for me, low 80s is a good score for me.
It's a great score.
That's where I'm at, and I've improved every year. And it's like if I have like a couple of blow up holes, I say, shit, I never quit.
I don't quit either. Yeah,
I might stop keeping score, but I just keep going.
No, I don't. I just get upset, but I'm brutally honest with it. I keep a true score, and I'll grind it all the way out. And if I shoot a 95, like it just is a bad day, but like that's what happened. And I was 6 over on the front, 8, and then I have a blow up hole and or whatever. So yeah, same thing. So
back to the evolution of your real estate business.
Yeah. So back to that, I'd have these panic attacks, and so really I pinned where they were coming from, and it was from a lack of being able to predict. Right. So my quality of life was improving. We were able to move into the house we wanted, buy the stuff that we wanted, and I was very proud of that. But I couldn't live in that space of being a $500,000-$600,000 a year earner and live that way, because what happened if next year I only make 50 grand? Well, theoretically, like that's really impossible. Maybe the market shifts down 20%. I make 400 if I keep doing the work I was doing, but I hadn't built that muscle up quite enough yet, and I still hadn't quite believed, Dave, that I was solely the one responsible with that. And at any given time, I had the skill sets to turn that dial up. It was working, but to be fair, I kind of felt like I was getting away with murder, right? I kind of did. I was like, because how many agents do you know that are doing that aren't sending mailers, that aren't doing open houses, that aren't, on paid leads? There's not a lot. I haven't met many. And so, because I couldn't put my finger on it, I kind of freaked out. So skipping back ahead, I knew I couldn't be the engine anymore. I needed a predictable engine, and there is no engine as predictable as YouTube. It's absolutely wild. Just because of the sheer math behind it, because of the size of it, right? So, and I can get into that, but as far as the why, I needed to scale. So the first thing you needed was the consistency. So I said, okay, I can do this better than these guys. They're filming themselves. They've got like a VA editor. I'm going to hire a videographer who's really great, who's local, because I know my personality well enough. And, for all those that do buy into real estate coaching, I think one of the things you buy into is accountability, right? You're paying somebody to hold you accountable. Well, I did that in the form of a videographer editor. I was like, I'm going to spend, a good chunk of money each month just so that I have to show up and film these homes or these tours. And that was one of the best things I did. I hired him, and then before he ever shot a video, I fired him. And then before we ever shot a video, I hired him back, because I was teetering on that. And it's the best decision I made was that. And then second, you need the money to do it. So I have to pay for all this stuff. Well, not a lot of realtors can do that. Realtors are the cheapest people I've ever met, myself included, who are just atrociously cheap. We'll make a $20,000 check and we'll give somebody a $25 gift card and say, have a nice life. It's like we're just cheap. And so most people don't want to spend the money in the investment of something that they don't 100% know will pan out. And going back to borrowed beliefs, if I hadn't met with those guys, I don't know if I ever would have really believed, had I not seen their phones ding, 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 ding from all these people. I was like, okay, well, now that I know the result exists, that takes a lot of the risk out for me. That's really one of the big reasons I took the leap, because I knew I could do all the work required, and I knew I could probably be better at it. I needed to know the time and money would be worth it. Once I saw that, so I put the money in. Then you actually have to have the knowledge. I already had all of that, which was great. Then you had to have the comfort on camera. And it only took me about halfway through filming our first YouTube vlog that I heard the quote, pick your pain. Like, what's more painful, having these panic attacks at the beginning of every year, or like being comfortable on camera? I said, F it. I'm just going to get comfortable. It is what it is. And halfway through, you can go back and watch my first video. about halfway through, slide into 10 minutes, you'll see me as comfortable as can be. Obviously, I've gotten significantly better, over 200 YouTube videos, as I'm sure you have, over 300 and something of these. But yeah, so it picked up, and so it scales exponentially. So we're just over 35,000 subscribers. I think this is probably what people want to hear. So this year to year, we will close 175 homes directly from our YouTube channel. No paid ads, completely organic, zero traffic driven from third-party sites, just using the platform itself. And that shift goes back to, instead of using the platform to put out what you think people want to hear, let the platform tell you what people want to hear. The audience is already on that platform. Find them content that's related to real estate. And that's what we did. We made a shift. We realized people were searching for suburbs in Texas. We're a huge state for relocation. We got the election coming up. It's a very contentious time. And a lot of people want out of liberal states right now, just because of what's going on with immigration and with taxes and with crime and everything else and what's taught in schools. They're moving to Texas. So we've got a bigger opportunity here. And so we rank number one for these keywords, and people reach out and they move here. And so that's where I went from being an independent agent to, we had about 9 months with the channel working, where I was taking a lot of the leads. And then now we can go to Brandon Brittingham. I saw a quote that he posted, I think I've shared with you, that he said, "Don't start a team until you have too much opportunity." And I had never really heard somebody kind of encapsulate that before. But it just really coins my philosophy. You know, people, whenever I go to Cheplak's rooms and stuff, and I'm talking to people that have built businesses, I created the most important thing first. I had the business day one, which was the leads. So it's very easy. I say easy. It's still, you still do hard things, but it takes a lot of the anxiety out of it when I have to hire a new agent, because I can't even answer my phone because I've got too many people wanting to buy a house. Like, what a great problem to have. So I've built my whole business on a problem of, I have too much opportunity. That's our word at Ferris Realty, is opportunity. And as soon as we've got too many agents and not enough opportunity, I will create more opportunity, right? And that goes back to that reticular activating system. I'm always on the horizon. What's the next opportunity outside of YouTube? And so anyways, yeah, it's taken us, we got almost up to about 50 agents. We throttled back. We kind of cut a little fat. We're sitting at 40. We're building out some systems, and we're basically building out that foundation so that January 1, we're kind of ripping into the new year to push 40 to 80 agents. We'll close about 350 deals this year, and 175 are directly from YouTube.
So let's talk about YouTube in particular. So it's the consistency of doing the video. How important is the editing? Is editing extremely important? Is the thumbnail important? What is going to get you noticed? What is going to stop control? Because that's what people
well, Dave, do you want to play? Do you want to play in the church soccer league, or do you want to play in the Premier League?
I want to play in the Premier League.
If you want to play in the Premier League, you wouldn't ask that question to Ronaldo. You wouldn't say, well, what's more important, dribbling or scoring? Both. What's more important? Being a teammate and passing, or also being really good at doing it all by yourself. Like it's absolutely both. And so, you can't, like, I think everybody wants to feel like there is an answer to that question, because it gives you a shortcut or makes it easier. You want to know the answer, what's made us better than, and I would love for people to bring us their results, because I want to network with those people. But I if you know anyone that will close 175 deals this year directly from YouTube, nothing else, not counting our other production, I want to meet with those guys, and they probably want to meet with me. I'll share everything with that person. That's who I want to meet with. But what's gotten us to that level is every single thing I treat as a professional. I'm not slacking in one. I personally optimize all of our videos. That's very important, because I've done it 200 times now. So I'm putting in the keywords. So I am one with the YouTube algorithm, where I know why a video didn't perform well or not, or at least I have a better inclination. If I outsource that to somebody because I'm too busy or I'm too above it, going back to ego, one of the best things is that my ego's still here a little, but it's gone for the most part compared to what it used to be.
Right.
Like, if a video doesn't do well, I got to get in there and know. So its production quality is huge. Spend the money, you'll get it back. If there is any machine I've ever seen where you put $1 in and you get 10 back, it's YouTube. because once the video is online, if it's done correctly, if you're good on camera, if the information is potent, if it's structured in a way that it performs well on YouTube, which all of these things we do, then it's all of it. But look, one of the big shifts we made, to answer your question directly, you could have gotten away with bad editing 3 or 4 years ago now. There's a big dog in every market now, and they've got a really good videographer editor, and they've got it figured out. It doesn't mean it has to be super expensive, but they've got somebody good they found. They've got a consistent formula for it. And the difference is 4 years ago, you could post a video where you're like, hey, my name's Dave, and I'm a local realtor here in Tampa, Florida. And today we're going to be showing you blah and blah. You're done. You're already done. These days with TikTok and all these other platforms, one of the things that we did that really helped us on YouTube was like, okay, sure, people go to YouTube to watch long form content, but if we can hit them with that dopamine they're used to in that 60 seconds and get them into the video, instead of telling people, hey, in today's video, we're going to tell you about this. Don't tell them what you're going to tell them about. Just tell them. An example is, I did this. I think you were in the little group, but it's like, you can get this exact home behind me for $500,000. And the best part is it's actually in a gated community. And you can also hop in your golf cart and ride straight up to the grocery store. And did I mention that the schools are A rated? You're about 45 minutes from downtown and you're just going straight into the content. All of a sudden, I hit 4, 5, 6 value propositions in 15 seconds. I'm not telling people who I am. They're not on YouTube to find out who I am. Lose the ego. They're not on there to watch my, hey, your little trailer, by the way, it is great. The one you did or whatever for this program, get rid of trailers on YouTube. You're just wasting people's time. They don't, they just don't care. Cut those trailers out. They don't perform well. So when you said what's important, there's a chain of things. So the very first thing is the thumbnail. It's the first thing people see, and it needs to correspond with the title. And then it does need to be not bait and switch, but clickbait. They need to want to click on it. So clickbait is okay. Clickbait is where you bait them into clicking on it, and then you immediately deliver on that thing in the first 30 seconds. That's clickbait. Not to be confused with bait and switch. Don't do that. You'll piss people off. You'll ruin your audience. But clickbait's okay. If there's actually a home for 150 grand here, it might be the cheapest one in the neighborhood, but we can still deliver on it. We'll put that on the thumbnail. They'll click on it, right? So clickbait, you got to get them to click, and then a view is 30 seconds. So you've got to have that average view duration up as high as possible. A big thing that is just an easy hack that breaks a lot of people's brains. YouTube makes all of their money off of ads, and the longer your videos are, the more ads they can put in them. So for that reason alone, there's no reason to shoot a 6-minute video and put it on YouTube. It's a waste of time, truly. So it's a waste of time. It would be a fluke if it really takes off, and it would probably not be for the type of content we're making. Our videos now are 30 to 45 minutes, and they need to be. People will watch them because it ups that average view duration. We've made vlogs almost an hour before, and it's really not that hard because people want to see inside of the homes.
So you're doing a 45-minute video on a home?
No, I am doing a 30 to 45-minute video in a neighborhood where we're starting in that first 60 seconds, packing in all of value. And what we're doing, we used to do area vlogs, right? Where do you live, Dave? What's your suburb called, or your city?
It's called Washington Township.
So Washington Township, right? So somebody looking online, and is Washington Township a suburb of what?
New York City.
Cool. Okay. So people are typing in New York City, but they just want to learn about New York. They type it in, and then a video pops up, says homes 45 minutes from New York City starting at $7.99. Oh, cool. I click that. I don't know what Washington Township is, but I know I'm interested in maybe moving to New York, and I didn't even know they had homes there for $7.99. Curiosity. They click that. That's exactly what we do here in Houston. They click that. It's keyworded off New York. Washington Township isn't in New York City, right? It's not. Right. Who cares? Right. People that are actually looking from all over the world don't know that. They'll click it, and then all of a sudden it's you. And you're not like, my name's Dave, and I've lived in Washington Township for 15 years. They don't care about you, Dave, yet. They don't care about you yet. They will. They'll be your best friend. They'll take pictures with you if you do what I'm saying to do. So then it's, hey, we're right here in front of a brand new construction home, just 45 minutes outside of New York City, and you can get it for $799,000. And I know what you're thinking. You probably didn't even know there was new construction anywhere near New York. Well, there really isn't. And that's what makes this place so special. And not only is it brand new construction, but you're actually right down the road from your supermarket, and the train stop is right over here. So you have a direct shot into New York. In 30 seconds, I'm like, holy smokes, I didn't even know I can buy a new house. It's an easy commute and I'm hooked. And so from there, you go, but don't let me tell you about it. Let me show you. And in 60 seconds, you're inside the house. You're showing them the house. You're showing them the product. Somewhere along the way, while you're in the house, you're pausing, you're sitting down and you're saying, hey, you're probably wondering exactly where this Washington place is, right? Because you clicked on this video thinking it was New York. Well, let me tell you, here's a map. We're right here, right over here. All of a sudden they're like, oh, it's got everything right near it that I want. Cool. And then you're back into the house. Oh, cool. I want to see how big the closet is. And then after the closet, there's another pause. And it's like, hey, but you're probably wondering what's in the neighborhood. Well, they actually have a park over here. They do have a neighborhood pool. And then you just, by the end of it, they've watched the thing and they're really happy. They see what they can get for their money. And guess what? Here's what's really helped our channel a lot. Hey, and maybe you watched our content and you liked this house, but you're not sold on the area. Well, we actually have this same builder building in one suburb over. Check this video to see what it is. And if you are thinking about moving, feel free. So that pops up on the end screen, you loop them in, they're already in your ecosystem and it just grows and it builds and it builds. None of that is about me. None of that is about who I am, my ego. It's just so much value and it's highly edited. It ranks really high on YouTube. It gets viewed, it gets watched. We are YouTubers now. We just happen to be filming real estate. And that's the shift. You got to switch from being a realtor. And it takes a lot to do both. But once again, pick your pain. I think I chose to build this and it's taken me to, 40 agents. Income is significantly up from where we were at. And
so you are a YouTuber that sells real estate.
I'm both, but I am a YouTuber. I'm not a realtor with a YouTube channel at all. It's not even close. It's such a like an insult to what we actually do on YouTube. Truly. Like it really is. Like I'm not a realtor that has a YouTube channel. I am a YouTuber. And I think when you own that identity and you realize that I put the same time, effort, energy as a lot of like actual YouTube channels, I just happen to go after a smaller audience because it's a little more niched down. I could take my skill set right now and create a YouTube channel on something I'm passionate about. And it would, my gut would say, especially if I'm committed to it, but yeah, I think it would crush.
How do people learn how to do this, Kyle?
Well, let me actually answer that question in the most honest way. The concept's out there. I can teach you in an hour what you need to do, right? Sure, I went up to Dallas and I learned in a couple of hours the concept, right? Which is kind of what I'm pitching here. Rank number one, I just gave you the concept. And by the way, the concept I just gave isn't even the concept I got 2.5 years ago from those guys. The best teacher of YouTube is YouTube. Do it. The best teacher of real estate is real estate. Do it. Go in blindly naive with just confidence that you can do it and a resolve and a commitment to do it. We're 200 videos in and take extreme ownership of what you're trying to do. Don't half-ass it and treat it just as seriously as you treat your real estate business. In the same way, I was like, I just want to get good at real estate. I said that about YouTube. And I know you're looking for tangibles. How can they do it? Once again, do it. Like start a channel. Now, don't do it misguided. You follow the strategies, and we've got a course that you could buy if that's where you're going with this. I don't know if that's what you meant, but well, I don't even push the course that heavily. At the end of the day, the reality of it is I'll buy courses, for $1,000, $2,000 just to click on them and see what they are, right? So if you're in that spot, cool. But at the end of the day, YouTube will change your whole life. It'll change your whole business. It's completely bought all of my time back. I'm not working with buyers anymore. I do still take our listings. I've got 6 staff. We've got an office. I was able to buy a 5,000 square foot office right in downtown Conroe, my hometown, at the major intersection. I bought the building next door. I've got billboards up. I've got a team of amazing agents. About 20 of our agents are on our leads programs. I run pods every week. We're dialed in. We're getting about 100 to 150 organic buyer leads from YouTube a month. We're closing 20 to 30 deals a month, depending on the month. Some months more in the summer. we built a serious business out of this, and we're just getting started. We're not even done with year 2 yet, and it's all because we built the engine. Man. Yeah, it's all because we built the engine. So, and because we have great people. Let me say that too.
Yeah, it's a great story because it's like, okay, so this didn't work. Let me, you just made decisions, and that's one of the things that I like to see and like to hear from a lot of people is when they decided to do something, it actually worked. Hey man, this has been a great broadcast. The time flew by. We have your contact information on the screen. Everybody, if you have any questions, reach out to Kyler. His email address is there. His Instagram is there. We've got another great broadcast coming up for you. We've got Ed Stulak coming up. We've got Grad Harrelson coming up. We've got Bill Pipes coming up. So we've got a lot of people in the pipeline to have on our broadcast over the next month or so. I have 2 things left, Kyler. One is a question. The other is a comment. First one is a question. How do I, Dave Finale, help you grow your business?
I would probably say connections, right? You've obviously interviewed all these people, and I've learned recently that having one extra contact in your phone can be the difference in your next $1 million. I mean, I really think that that's how it works. So if there's anybody that based on what I've shared with you, that you're like, hey, you got to connect with this person. I really think y'all can help out. I'm happy to contribute, and if I can learn from them too, I would say give me one good connection. That would be awesome. Connect me with the most influential person in our space that that you think I could impact them, and we'll. That's what absolutely I would say.
We'll do that. Hey man, I want to thank you so much for being on the broadcast. I look forward to continuing our relationship, and of course, the hat. Everybody gets a hat that joins this broadcast. I know you heard about the hat. You said I got to get a hat.
Swap it out. Give me a hat.
You know what? You'll get my address when I send this out. You send me one back. Love it. Hey man, thank you again for being on. Just hold on till the end. Just stay one more minute after we go off, and we'll go from there. Hit it, Nelson. Hey!